Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome at the Romanian Cultural Institute for I would say, an original evening, a very unusual evening for us, but one that we were looking forward to it for quite some time. In fact, while seeing how many physicians and medical specialists are in the room, I would say not welcome to the Romanian Cultural Institute, but welcome to the Romanian Cultural Institute Clinic, or Romanian Cultural Institute Hospital. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic evening, but for sure it's going to be the safest evening one can have tonight in New York. No condition cannot be cured tonight. No situation, no medical problem cannot be addressed tonight, because we are again surrounded. We are surrounded by medical doctors, and we like it to be like this, and it should be like this, because tonight we're going to talk about the intersection of medicine and the arts. That's the theme of tonight. And I was telling you at the beginning that we were looking forward to this event, to this project, for several reasons. One, we wanted very much to honor the fantastic medical profession, and especially the doctors who were truly heroic during the pandemic and indeed in everyday life. We wanted to do it for so long, and we thought it would be the right time to do it. At the same time, we want to examine this intersection between the arts and medicine and science now when we are going through fantastic technological revolutions. Fantastic technological revolutions that again bring forth the idea that the arts can be useful to medicine, that there are techniques, there are approaches that can be employed in order for medicine and medical practice to be more effective, or at least to help some of the aspects in treatments and medical procedures. And of course, we are doing this because we want to be part of a very important campaign against cancer, campaigns to raise awareness about cancer. And this is not the first time that we have been involved in campaigns like this. We feel that it's important to be part in campaigns that really transcend what we do here every week, every day at the Romanian Cultural Institute. Of course, in order to celebrate the courage and determination of the medical profession, and in order to highlight the connection, the determination between arts and medicine, we assembled a panel that is really a star-studded panel, I should say, a very interesting panel, one of the best we've had in many in a lot of time. A panel that is made of physicians who are writing, artists who have fought and won against cancer, physicians who are doing more curating work than spending time in clinics and hospitals, photographs who have documented in a very touching way the fight against cancer, and in fact winning against cancers. So a very diverse panel, which I will have the pleasure to introduce one by one as the time comes. This project is part of a larger project. In fact, in our gallery space, you have only the teaser, so to speak, a sort of whetting the appetite for a bigger exhibition and a bigger program that runs at the Montefiore Einstein Medical Center. And the project is called AI Brighter Tomorrow, Cancer and Beyond. And it's a collaboration between Romanian curator Natalia Marin and the Fine Art Program and Collection at Montefiore Einstein. We'll have the chance to talk more about this program. And this tonight's event, and we are very, very happy to say that, is organized with the support of the Association of Romanian Doctors of New York. And before I start with the wonderful panelists, I'd like to invite to take the floor the Vice President of this glorious association that has done so many great things during the pandemic, and it's been so helpful for the Romanian-American community. We'd like to invite Dr. and Professor Teo Trandafirescu to take the floor. Teo.
I try to speak Romanian, and I'm a physician. Sunt un doctor care practic medicina în New York și, fiind o seară culturală, interpretez mai multe roluri profesionale în viața mea. Unul, dorul l-a menționat. Am fost președintele Societății Medicale Române din New York, a domnului dr. Sărescu. În acel timp am reușit să aducem doctori împreună și să educăm medicii români din comunitate și pacienții români din comunitate. Să sperăm că în continuare vom reuși să facem același lucru. Alt rol pe care îl interpretez este de Vice President al American Federation of Medical Research. Aici reușim să promovăm pe tinerii medici, să dezvoltăm noțiunea de physician scientist, care avem aici pe foarte mulți doctori, și să mentorăm generația tânără pentru roluri academice, medicale în centre universitare. Știm că medicina este o știință exactă, dar practicarea medicinii este o artă. Rolul întâlnirii din această seară să promovăm arta în medicină. Arta și medicina sunt complementare. Alt rol pe care l-am în viața mea este cel de a practica critical care medicine. Sunt un intensive care doctor. De-a lungul timpului am reușit să văd că music therapy poate avea un rol benefic în tratamentul pacienților în terapie intensivă și un efect benefic optimizant pe neuropulmonal system, sistemul neurohormonal și pe cel cardiovascular. Probabil că o să aflăm mai multe în această seară. Deci este o profesiune nouă de music therapy în spitale care să sperăm că se va promova. Tratamentul complementar și multidisciplinar al pacienților trebuie să fie o prioritate pentru noi toți și să avem o minte deschisă. Din punct de vedere al pulmonologii, sunt și un pulmonologist, aș vrea să fac o legătură între bolile transmisibile reflectate în opere. De exemplu, în Traviata și la Poem avem caractere mimi în care au fost stigmatizate de societate, societal stigmatization. Aceste opere ne arată valoarea artei și rolul artei de a umaniza medicina. Deci, din ce în ce mai mult să sperăm că vom vedea reflecția medicinei în arte și ne vor face pe noi ca medici să fim profesionali mai buni și oameni mai buni. Din punct de vedere al excelenței în cultură, suntem aici și, sincer, de când au venit noua echipă condusă de Doru Branea, se vede un impuls cultural în societatea noastră. Nici nu are rost să mai prezim mai mult. Un round de aplauz pentru Institutul Cultural Român și inițiativele lor și care sunt excepționale. Se vede diferența, să sperăm că vom continua același trend. Vă mulțumesc frumos și aș vrea excelent panel să ne dovediți legătura între arte și cultură. Sunt complementare și în acest lucru.
Because you know you speak only English at the institute, but of course I'm going to translate only the last part when Theo is raising the team of the Romanian Cultural Institute, and of course, thank you, Theo. The translation is going to be on our website shortly, so that our English-speaking audience can also understand. We love to have a mixed audience with Romanian-Americans, with Americans, and that's why we think our events are even more energized. So it's my time to introduce the panel, and I think my colleagues is pointing me towards the microphones, right? Okay, so this is yours. I'm going to start with I'm going to introduce the panelists as I'm dealing with them, so to speak. I'm going to start with the curator of tonight's of the exhibition at the Montefiore Einstein, and that's again you can see you can have only a taste of it. We couldn't bring it to Romanian Cultural Institute, but boy, we tried to do that. Maybe in the future. So Natalia Marin, who's in New York for the first time, of course, remotely in order to make this exhibition possible, is an independent art curator, physician, researcher, and emerging Psi artist based in Bucharest, Romania. Her work focused on the nexus between art and medicine, working with artists, doctors, researchers, and academics from all around the world. Natalia is the founder of Art, Healthcare and Technology, a network for art and medicine, and a system for technologically facilitated collaborative research, and has curated several exhibitions fusing art and science, bridging the gaps between these two fields. Her aim is to advance science education and to improve the life quality of both patients and their healthcare providers by using a powerful tool for connection, communication, and collaboration. Without further ado, I'd like to start directly by asking you about this exhibition. How did it come about, and how does it look like? You know, what's the philosophy? What's the principle behind it?
So, can I just for 1 second? Can you do away with all this and behind you, because we really want to look at the people that are talking, and this is very disturbing.
Yeah. Well, it's also very.
We already read it many times.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you at the end if you know it by heart. Okay. Okay. Yeah. We'll do it right away.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for letting Natalia prepare her answer. I'm sure the answer will be much better now. Do it again with the others as well. Okay. Okay, Natalia, go on.
Thank you. AI Brighter Tomorrow Cancer and Beyond is a collaboration with the Fine Art Program and Collection at Montefiore Einstein, led by Jodie Moines, and she's also a co-curator with me. I first emailed her 2 years ago, and I didn't expect it to get here, actually. We wanted to create an exhibition, it was just an exhibition about cancer. Because they are doing, at the Fine Art Program and Collection, they are organizing exhibitions that bridge art and medicine. And it was exactly what I was looking for. And what Jodie did was expand this and help me to actually get in contact with more people that are better at telling a cancer story than I would be ever. We got in contact with cancer survivors, we got in contact with physicians, and we created an initiative, not only an exhibition. This initiative starts with this exhibition at the Montefiore Einstein Center in Waters Place in the Bronx. And we are starting basically with an exhibition that raises awareness on different aspects of cancer. We're trying to be as human as possible. We're trying to get as close as possible to the people because it's in the lobby of a hospital. It's patients walking in and out, and they can walk around and see an exhibition as they wait to see their physician. It's very important because it's a moment when they're actually mentally preparing for what's coming next. So the whole point of art in this context is to inform, is to create a relationship of trust between the healthcare system and the patient.
That's why you put a little bit of it in our gallery, because
Yes.
we need to feel the same as after so many works at the office. We all also feel like patients, and we will go in the gallery and become, healed and rejuvenated, right?
And it's also, the preview here is more friendly with the public, as the works are not very easy to digest. It's works about cancer. It's real stories of real people who went through it. And putting it in a hospital lobby is quite, it's the space for it. It's the conventional space for an art and healthcare exhibition. But when you put it in an art gallery, it's different. You're more familiar with the artistic approach of an art gallery. You see a painting, it's nice, it's beautiful.
What about the artists that are part of this exhibition? How did you pick them up? What was the sort of algorithm choosing for this particular space and particular function of the exhibition, which is quite unusual, right?
This is an interesting question, actually. It was both Jody and I who chose the artists. Some of them were my close friends, because I work at the intersection of art and science. I had a lot of artists working with medical concepts, so some of them are my close friends and collaborators, and others are people that Jody met during her work organizing art and healthcare exhibitions. And we were lucky to get in contact with Anna and Jordan. Jordan is here tonight, and Fede. They're cancer survivors, so they have been helping us lots during the whole process.
But you also had encountered in your practice or while preparing this exhibition, in your advocacy work, you have encountered overwhelming experiences and met with patients or former patients, collected stories that are truly emotionally overwhelming. Could you tell us a little bit about this personal aspect of your journey towards this exhibition?
Journey is indeed the right word for it. One of the most touching moments was, beyond, of course, talking to cancer survivors and finding out their stories, one of the most touching stories was about a boy, a family friend actually, a boy who died at the age of 13 after fighting cancer for his entire life. He was an advocate for education for all. He wanted to travel the world, and he was telling us about going to New York eventually. We all kind of knew that wouldn't physically happen, unfortunately, and we photographed his mother a year after his death, and we created a visual interview with her. And talking to her after witnessing this whole experience was something that truly changed me. She told me that through our project, her son is still alive, and he gets to travel the world, and he gets to educate people and to see his dreams come true. And we've encountered several hard moments during the whole curatorial process, and I was there thinking that he's watching over us and he's helping us, and indeed every single time when I was, how am I going to solve this? We solved it.
What was the name of it?
Radu Bank.
So can we say that we dedicate this evening to Radu? Can we say that? Okay, so this evening is dedicated to this boy. May he be somewhere there with us tonight. Thank you, Natalia. I'd like to go on now and talk a little bit more about the intersection of medical profession and literature. And I have it's for you, go get rid of it. I have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Adrian Singiosan. Adrian is a poet, novelist, essayist, and of course, physician. He lives in New York and works as a specialist in obstetrics and gynecology. He has written extensively and he's translated in many languages, from poetry to memoirs to novels. The list is just endless, and he's always very much present both in the literary world of New York and Romania and other places, and in the medical profession as well. And I'd like to thank you, Adrian, for accepting our invitation. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. We had the pleasure to launch your latest novel, Vitali, last year, which is a wonderful novel, and I look forward to see it in a film because it's so thrilling and so well written. But like always, I start by asking you, what drew you to writing literature? You have been, and you are a successful medical doctor, a successful physician, well respected in the profession, but still a very prolific writer, and I would say equally successful. Why this urge? Why this sort of double identity? Doctor, physician, and writer.
It's not an urge. It came slowly. So I knew from childhood that I have this seed of literature in me, but I took my time because I had to go to medical school. Do you do medical school in Romania? Okay, so it is the new generation. How you heard, Natalia. So I went to the medical school and I keep postponing, and I started writing and publishing late in life, after my 40s, after I came here. I got to New York, I met Carmen, I got in literary circles. I have friends who were involved in literature, like, for instance, Augustin Buzura, who was a doctor, a psychiatrist from Romania, who encouraged me. He and Carmen encouraged me to write prose, because I wrote poetry for quite a while, but I didn't dare to go to prose because it's too much work. And I published my first book at 42, 43, and I was launched right here in the winter time by Nina Gracian. And it's a long, long way. And probably the biggest event in my life made me to start writing and to share my thoughts with some audience was immigration.
You know, while listening to you, I couldn't help thinking of this saying that the medical profession and literature are so close because both are dealing with the body, and we are trying to see what's happening inside the body, but the physician is writing prescriptions and the writer is writing, I don't know, poetry or prose. Do you think that's something inherent in the way physicians are trained that can lead them I don't know, to a sort of sensibility towards arts, to becoming artists and writers? Do you think there's something like that?
Yes, there is. There is no other specialty who can give you better stories than medicine, especially if you work in a hospital, in an ER, in a labor and delivery unit, and you have to just listen to the patients. You don't have to tell them the stories, you have to listen to their stories. I was talking to Natalia about a new discipline which is introduced in the United States. It's called narrative medicine. And it's a special discipline of humanities, which is at Columbia and other big medical schools in the United States, where the residents and the students are taught and are encouraged to write and to listen to the patient's details. Because we don't treat MRIs, we don't treat labs and X-rays, we treat a patient. And to listen to the patient, it's a kind of art. We just have to ask the right question and to have patience to listen to them.
But what about the other way around? Your stories, your poetry, do you feel that they can have therapeutic value?
For me, for sure. I don't know. Well, I was quite a while reluctant to publish my books and to talk about my books because, especially my first two books, which are called Tales of a Women Doctor, they're about what happened to me in reality in the hospital. It's about real people, real patients, and I was really anxious how they will react if they will see these stories. And I had no complaints up to now. And I have patients coming to me, many of them, they read not only these two books, there are other books of mine, and they come and ask me, what's new up in your computer? So it's fun, and it's engaging, and I cannot compare with them. We should not forget that a lot of doctors, they were big writers, not on my side, not Chekhov, for instance, Bulgakov, Carlos Williams, who was a doctor in New Jersey, who treated patients 100 years ago, and he delivered more than 3,000 children. And he was a pediatrician. He retired as a doctor, and he was the one who introduced the avant-garde, European avant-garde into Romanian-American literature, and he stopped in school even today. And he was a very dedicated doctor. A lot of doctors, they work and they wrote because they didn't have to, they have to live from science. It's very difficult to live out your writing, I can tell. Don't even dare to think. And the only person who did it and on the opposite way was Chekhov, who started publishing stories, making money with those stories, and he registered himself in the medical school, and he sustained himself. He wrote to become a doctor. He was on the opposite way. There are many, many other.
Thank you for bringing up this historical overview, because it's important to say that this connection is not very new. In fact, it's quite old. The relationship between the medical profession and the arts is old. The link is very strong. As Adrian said, you have illustrious examples of physicians who were also great, fantastic writers.
If I may mention, Liviu Georgescu was my neighbor. He was a rheumatologist. He's not with us anymore, but he wrote beautiful poems, a few books of poems. He was quite a professional painter. If I see one of his paintings, I can recognize it because he had a style. And
I heard that he was sort of Renaissance.
Yes. He played classic violin, almost professional.
Music, literature, medicine, all this. Typically, we cannot have him with us.
Too much art can not good either.
Yeah, but also, I mean, Adrian has written very extraordinary books about the medical profession, as he sort of revealed. When you are going to see a physician, don't read his books before that, because the revelations that you have in his books may be disturbing. So thank you, Adrian. Now we are going to the visual arts, and I'm very, very happy to welcome Federico Muelas Romero. Federico is the founder and artistic director of Blue Flower Studio, with over 10 years of experience, with more than 10 years of experience in visual arts and art in public spaces. He is also a professor of physical computing and electronics, and serves as a group thesis director in the master's program at the School of Visual Arts in New York. And of course he has been part of many exhibitions. He has exhibited all over the world. He's an important name, but what is I think even more important is the fact that in the spring of 2020, his life changed when he was diagnosed with cancer, with bone cancer. And while navigating the treatment, he turned to drawing in a way to cope with the challenges, extraordinary challenges he faced. And the result of this was also unexpectedly a very beautiful and humorous book, Tumor, T-H, humor, Tumor, Dear Cancer Diary, in which he approached, he even sort of oppose his condition, his situation with huge humor, with a lot of humor. So Federico, thank you for being here tonight. Of course, I would start by asking you, how did you manage to find the resources for humor in order to address this very serious situation?
Thank you so much for having me. Well, because when it gets so bad, you just laugh. I mean, how many times people from here, people say like, oh, I went to this funeral, I start laughing. And there was some moments in which, I don't know, went into my personal life, and I used to be claustrophobic, or getting, all these tests that would be like, okay, this is really painful, but it's gonna look great in the book. And I wasn't expecting for those moments, but I felt like this is a story, it's making a story. And I think at one point, one thing that happened with this book is that I kind of like dissociate from myself. I create this alter ego that at one point wasn't me anymore. And I start feeling pity for this guy. And then I could put him in situations that I went through, and then I was like, oh my God. When I read the book again, like,
you wouldn't believe it yourself.
Yeah,
right?
like, poor guy. Oh wait, that was me. But also like, yeah, I mean, when you go through something like as traumatic as is, cancer treatment, I don't know, humor is the only thing that keeps you going.
I think the books can be seen. They are in the gallery. I really invite you to take a look. It's a wonderful book, and a lot of humor and a lot of bittersweet humor, I would say. But what is interesting, your practice has changed dramatically because of this situation, of this problem, medical problem.
Yeah.
How did it happen?
Well, first because I couldn't do it anymore. I mean, the kind of work that I used to do before this, and I'll go back to it, but it was big installations, a lot of physical work, and I wasn't able to do it anymore. When I was diagnosed, if anyone here had cancer, you go from being this active person, this person who do things to be totally passive. You know, you are being followed, you are being tested, you are being you go through all these processes in which they are doing this test to you, and at one point you need to become active again. And it was through drawing. I couldn't do anything else, so I picked up a pencil and started drawing. And actually, the first art that I did, it wasn't a book. It was this series of weird drawings that I don't show anyone because they were really bizarre. And it was like I needed to put it out there. It came out like that. And then I started writing the book, and I thought in the beginning it was supposed to be only 3 pages, and I put it on the web, and then people started coming to it. Oh, this happened to me. And
Because I wanted to ask you about this response, but the response was huge, it was extraordinary.
yeah, there was. I didn't expect that, and I was writing this for me too, and because I need it, and then putting it up there, having all these responses, and people opening to me, and I was like, I didn't expect this to happen, and people telling me like this, reading this, seeing the humoristic part of it, has helped me to talk about my situation. I think that this is not what I have when I wait through, it's not something to be ashamed of. It's not a stigma. In some cases, still, it's hard to talk about these kind of things. Also because comics, graphic novels, drawing, whatever you see, I still don't know. It's a really approachable medium. So people take the book and oh, it's a book. I mean, it's a comic book. Superheroes, Marvel. And then they start reading all of these, like, oh, I'm reading books, so I'm going to keep reading it. But that's, I have to say that's what it can be going, the feedback that I had, not from regular readers or patients, but also from young doctors or nurses. They saw how the book and the stories reflect or kind of like resemble what they go through, and they start sending me their stories. Eventually, I want to make a story so everyone else, story. I mean,
What was the response of your readers, people who, like ordinary people outside the medical profession, while reading and enjoying your book?
It was, I don't know. I mean, it was weird. It was really personal at one point. People who had gone through something like that, not necessarily cancer, any kind of disease, or any kind of like changing situation, they will engage and they will be really honest. So some other people were like, oh, I don't, it's too hard for them to read. They don't want to get involved. So when I started presenting this book to a more regular, like comic environments, they didn't know what to do with it. Like, am I supposed to read that? Well, it seems like, yeah, I have had cancer, so like I'm allowed to make a joke about my own stories, about my own thing. I have a license not to do it. Yeah, it was really interesting. All kinds of responses. I mean, you have the guys. I mean, you have some people being really negative. Those are the ones that I don't want to remember. Like, oh, you're gonna get it again, or I don't know, weird things. But that's good. That means that it's something. It's clearing that out. That it needs to happen. Also, like when you're diagnosed and you go through something like chemo, you don't really know what you're going through. It's so bizarre, it's so brutal. But sometimes you have all these side effects that you didn't know they were even possible. Things that don't make any sense, and your brain is readjusting to this poison that you're putting on your body to save you. And so I found that was something that it was helping to people too, that they knew that they could go through. This woman who got electrical shocks whenever he got called, and I'm still, because of the operations I had, if I touch my leg here, down here, it's kind of cool though, but to know that all these things can happen.
So, apart from comics and drawings, have you gone back to other ways of doing art or other practices, or you still?
Little by little, it's like I have to personas. I have three, I would say, the teacher,
That's
then I
right.
have
Yeah.
my alter ego, and then I have comics, and then I have, I'm starting to work again with interactive installations, and I'm always like involved somehow because of my teaching, because I'm helping the students do their work. So it's not like idle stuff, but now I have to consider I need help to do certain things. Then kind of be like, and also like I put my priority now is myself, my health, just you learn how to measure the amount of energy you have, and to just focus on what you think is going to be more, what is going to have better results.
It's wonderful that art managed to do wonders for you, but also become so helpful to other people in a very direct and concrete way. So congratulations for the
Thank
book,
you so much.
and I hope you can put this behind forever, very very short. We have also here in the panel somebody who has been very close to the sufferers, very close to these kind of experiences. And I'm talking about Jordan Rothkopf. In fact, I must confess, we have only half of the Rothkopf duo. Jordan and Anna, his wife, are working together, and they have Jordan is a photographer with a background in marketing and PR, but of course making a name for himself, and they are making a name for himself in photography. Together with his wife, they published a book, Her Two, Diagnosed, the Caregiver and Their Son, that chronicles their journey through illness and caregiving, offering raw imagery and dual perspective on shared struggles and strength. Struggles, of course, against cancer. And it's a very overwhelming experience. The photography is just I wouldn't say it's great photography. It doesn't work. I mean, it's something that makes you think, makes you feel, more profoundly about these things. So tell us about this experience, about this book, and about working in why, and then how is the book. How was the book structured, and the characters and the art behind it?
Hi, everybody. So my wife, unfortunately, is not here. She's an immigrant from Czech Republic, and she's actually in Prague right now, presenting our work at Prague Onco, which is a conference on oncology. So I think, to answer your question, part of what motivated the work for us was both as photographers. We felt a need to do it just as a way to find some kind of sense of power and control. I think that when she was diagnosed, just instantly you feel like things are out of your control, and there's a sense of losing your own power. And by being able to pick up the camera, it gave us both an opportunity to reclaim some feeling of control. But beyond that, I think it was also because everything we saw was just terrible. It was always stories about beating cancer or dying of cancer, and it just felt like such one-dimensional representations of what we were feeling, which was that it was all combined. It was ups and downs, joy and pain, and it was really sometimes the mundane in life was actually the most powerful and beautiful things. And so we wanted to show that in our imagery, and from my background in marketing, I know why sometimes they do that. It's an easier story to sell, but I think when you're dealing with illness, we're not talking about things that we're just trying to sell. These are real people, real lives, and people need to feel seen. And my wife, just to be very clear, she was working a state of New York job. And when she became ill, the American healthcare system was quite a surprise to her, and her employers actually harassed her because she was ill. And so that became a motivation for us to use art as a way not just to reclaim our own power and share our story, but with a greater mission of also pointing to things in the system that we think really desperately needs to be changed, because these are people with real lives and we're not just statistics. And in telling our story together, I think it was also interesting because we got the perspective of my wife as the woman diagnosed and everything that comes with that, things that I wasn't even aware of myself until we started looking at each other's photos. The pressures she felt to be beautiful, the pressures she felt to project strength. And then for myself as a caregiver, and particularly a male caregiver, I felt I had to project certain kinds of strengths. I had to be a man, I had to be strong. And meanwhile, I was going into my car and crying every day because I was having panic attacks. And I wasn't able to tell that to her. So what we found was we were not actually talking about a lot of things that we really needed to talk to each other about. And art became a mechanism for us to open conversations between each other. And so that was a big motivation for us for the work. How we continue to use it, though, is to create broader conversation. So,
because your artistic practice is doubled by advocacy.
yeah.
You wanted to get out the message
Yeah,
about these things and about what can happen to the cancer patients and what are they going through and what come unwelcome reactions by the institutions and organizations. Why do you feel your urge to complement your artistic work with advocacy work?
Because we know too many people who were bankrupted by illness, who got sick and then can't afford treatments, lose their jobs, spend their whole lives suffering in some way beyond the illness. I think that the system sometimes wants to kind of, wipe its hands clean, like, okay, we cured the cancer, we got the cancer out, but these things can live with you for for decades after the initial treatment, and we know people that couldn't even get treatment because their employers wouldn't let them leave every day for radiation treatments, or they couldn't afford to, just stop working. And so that's what led us to advocacy. I mean, it's real lives, and people suffer, I think, needlessly sometimes because we're not always talking about the things that really we should also be talking about. And then the incredible amount of depression that we see as a result of illness is, I think, kind of an epidemic. I think since the pandemic, a lot more people are sensitive to the idea of mental health. But I think I've read statistics that with cancer patients, it's almost as high as soldiers, the PTSD levels. And that's partly because the battle is inside your body. You can't leave the battlefield if your body is the battlefield. And you have to live with this constant in the background. My wife had what they call early stage cancer, but we know that 1 in 3 people with early stage cancer will have a recurrence or metastatic recurrence. So these are things that we want to create conversation around because people, I think, are actually in a lot of pain and they need some relief.
What about the response to your art, the photography? How did people react to this role? It's a term that you use, and it's indeed a very apt term when talking about your photography. It's something sometimes disturbing. It's frightening, it's of course heartbreaking, it's all of these, but it's definitely not very easy to watch.
I mean, I don't think cancer or illness is easy to deal with, so I don't feel that we necessarily need to make it easy. I think if we choose to, that's obviously a choice we can make, but I think that we need room for all of these things. In terms of reception, I mean, the work itself has been used as the master brand campaign for Susan Komen, which is one of the largest breast cancer organizations in the world. The United Nations gave us a photographic achievement award for the work. So it certainly, I think, is resonating with people, and I think part of why it's resonating is because it's really honest. And I think we're living in a time where people don't trust science, they don't trust medicine. It's a really disturbing reality. I forgot to mention my sister is a medical oncologist at Memorial Sloan Kettering. So I come from a family that obviously believes in the power of science. And this is another reason we want to use our artwork, is also to regain some trust so that people don't avoid treatments because of something they read on Facebook or see on TikTok. We need to reestablish trust in medicine and science because it does work and it does save lives.
Thank you, and yeah, I think it's important to do that, and that's why we need books like this and practices like this in order to see this the disease, this terrible disease in our lives that can be, I don't know, manageable and also can react to some aspects that are overlooked, and we need to talk more about that. So good luck with your book, but also with your advocacy, which is, I think, very important. Natalia, because you worked so hard for this project, have you ever doubted that art can really have this therapeutic function that really can be part of the medical procedure in order to help science to achieve its objectives, its healing objectives?
Well, I've never known that. Luckily, we cannot hear. I've never doubted the power of art in healthcare. It's spade.
No, it's not Watson.
I said it right.
I did.
So I've never doubted the power of art in healthcare settings, or how art can help medicine to serve its purpose at the end of the day. But I've had people who doubted that this intersection would actually have tangible effects. And this was one of the main curatorial challenges that we had to deal with. And one of the questions that we received so often was, how can you do two things at the same time and do them right? How can you have fine art that is indeed fine art in its true sense, and also tackle medical concepts correctly, using art as a tool for communication? And the answer was that you cannot tackle two different fields at once and do them both well. But this is why you work with people from these two different fields. We have artists, we have physicians in the exhibition, and they're all working together, and they're all in dialogue for the same purpose, to serve the same purpose, to inform people about all the aspects of cancer.
But it was helpful that you had medical training. I mean, it's not very often that you have a curator who's also trained as a physician.
For me, yes. But as I said, I'm aware that I will probably never be good, just perfectly good at both of them at the same time. But this is exactly why, again, you ask experts in the field. Yes, it helps. Being a medical student helps because I get in contact with patients and I have a different understanding of these medical concepts. It does help me.
So it helped you overcome whatever doubts you may have had.
I've never done that.
Yeah, so it's a very refreshing. You know, the optimism is refreshing, and I think that's why we are here. You know, to advocate in favor of these approaches that are not only found in literature or in visual arts or in drawings, in photography, but also in music. And to give you, a scale of the influence, the overwhelming influence of the Romanian Cultural Institute in New York in this place, we have brought somebody from London who flew to London even this afternoon at 4 o'clock, landed in New York to be with us. And I'm talking about Angelica Olsted. She is based here, but she was in London for a while, and we were so lucky that we wanted very much her to be part of this project and this panel, and we were lucky that she somehow scheduled her flight today so that she could be with us. Angelica is a New York-based classically trained pianist who creates unique music-driven experiences. She uses classical sourced music and experimental storytelling techniques as a conduit to explore music's power of healing. Her musical style is minimalist in nature and often includes unconventional mediums, including field recordings, video art, analog scenes, and soundscapes. Her events featured in publications such as Time Out New York, Yoga Journal, BuzzFeed, Well Plus Good, because she does a lot of things, other things besides music. But she has performed in many important music halls and all important music stages. But she has concentrated, and it's wonderful, and we will talk about it. She concentrated again, as Natalia said, without any hesitation. Be concentrated on the power of music to heal, the power of music to help medicine alleviate conditions. So, Angelica, welcome, and thank you for for this fantastic effort. I know you are on a different time zone. So if she speaks nonsense, such as, but we have managed to give her a lot of caffeine and the great Romanian coffees that are served here at the Romanian Cultural Institute keeps her not only awake but sharp as ever. You have worked. I mean, it's not only that you believe that the music can have these powers, but you actually work with physicians and with the medical researchers in order to understand better the science of medicine, of course, the science behind certain treatments, and respond with your art. Tell us about this experience.
Yes, thank you for having me here. And yes, apologies if at some point I meander off on a tangent that doesn't make any sense. Happy to be here. Yeah, I guess I'll just start with a little bit of a backstory. So I do not come from a medical background by any means. I am an artist primarily, but I also have lived different lives. I also had a yoga company, so I've been a meditation yoga teacher for many years. And then I've also worked as a cultural and corporate producer for the past decade. So I've had 3 different careers that have run concurrently over, I guess, the past 20 years now. And I had never really found a way to interlink all of these passions, all these fully, full professions until last year when I started therapy to address trauma that I've experienced. And I think this topic is very relevant and pertinent. I'm actually very invested in the topic of cancer treatment, as a close friend of mine recently went through her own battle with breast cancer. So there's a lot of commonalities with trauma, one being hypervigilance, a sense of losing control, isolationism. I personally was going through some of my own issues that I had experienced as a child growing up, and I made a lot of, I pulled together a lot of common threads from my friend's experience and also my own experience that kind of linked me to this arrival point of wanting to work on a project focused on healing. So I came up with the project titled Music for Healing. And I pulled from my experience as a meditation and yoga teacher, as a musician. I've been working with multimedia disciplines for a long time, with using my production experience. And last year I received New York State Council of the Arts grants for that project, which was very encouraging. And through that process, I realized that I wanted to create a science-informed art experience, because I think what you were saying was very interesting, is how can you create something that is both fine art but also therapeutic and proven to be therapeutic. So I wanted to explore what that relationship could look like by making sure that I consulted with subject matter experts. So in this project, with the funding from the grant, I was able to work with a music professor who's also a neuroscientist. His name is Dr. Lee Bartel. And it was really just a wonderful conversation. I wouldn't have been able to have done the project without his help, because he had his entire career that he just shared with me looking for a word and I can't find it, so generously. That is exactly the word I was looking for. Thank you. Wow. I think it's like, I don't know, 6 a.m. or something in London, I'm not sure. And through that process, he told me a few things. So there's like beats per minute, BPMs. It's around 60. That helps entrain the mind into deeper meditative states. So just being aware of the tempo. There's also a few keys. There's also an idea of repetition. So in yoga and meditation practices, the idea of a mantra and repetition helps stabilize and anchor the emotional state. It helps with emotional regulation, which is so important when you're going through states of trauma. What my friend went through with her treatment was really challenging. She was very lucky to have the resources to pay for her treatment, and she didn't have to work, actually. Incredibly lucky, incredibly privileged. She was aware of it. But even with that privilege, she had every single imaginable worst side effect with all of the medicine and treatment that she was given. And she's a very positive, resilient person, but her experience was really challenging. And she's also a numbers person. She used to work on Wall Street. So, you know, with the data and with the bedside manner that's provided by doctors, it's not necessarily particularly uplifting, and people are not always particularly careful in how they present this information, because I think in these situations, in clinical settings, you're so used to doing it every day, but perhaps what people don't realize is that when you get cancer, everything is the first time, and it's very challenging. It's your life at stake. And so pulling that back together to the project, when I was working on the project, I wanted to create something that was going to be free and accessible for everyone, but it was very important that it was science-informed so that it could be a place that people could go to again and again in case they can't afford therapy or don't have access to resources. And that was very important to me. And as a musician, I actually find it very interesting to create something within those parameters. So tonight I will actually be performing that piece for you all so you can hear it. And I can talk a little bit more about that, or if you have any other questions there.
I think we can talk a little bit more about that as an introduction, but I would like to slide slowly towards, because you know you can watch some of the visual art that is presented. I mean, a sort of introduction to what's happening at Montefiore Einstein Medical Center, and you will listen to the music, you know, very shortly and talk about that. But we haven't heard any literature yet, and maybe you can read pages or two just to start to immerse ourselves beyond conversation into.
Who better talk than me?
Okay, and then we'll continue.
And what I want to say that the music, in terms of healing properties of the art, music is the queen of this healing process by far.
Which is, I think it's a good point, but it's a good point, and let's hear more about how this experience was. She's going to play at the end. This part of the we'll end this evening with Angelica playing for us. But before that, let's talk a little bit more about this this practice, because it's so interesting how you arrived at a certain I don't know, melodies, rhythms, beats. All this is truly, even though you're not a physician or a scientist, it's all very scientific, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. One thing I did want to add actually is that as a result of doing this project through the grant is that I discovered an industry called neuroaesthetics. It's a field. It's very new. I think the early studies published around 2017, and it's become a lot more popular since the pandemic. And one of the reasons why I was in London and in Europe is that they are a little bit more forward-thinking than the US medical system, and they've actually been championing a concept called social prescription, where doctors are actually able to prescribe the arts as a means to help with neurological diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. Music is one of the most studied arts right now, and the findings are that it does have a profound impact, sound healing, frequencies being played. So I can go into more detail about the music itself, and specifically all the really
Just as an introduction of
Sure,
the
yeah.
short piece that you'll perform tonight, so that we understand more, better the approach, your approach to composing.
Yes, I would love to talk about that. It's one of my favorite topics. So I was actually inspired by Maurice Ravel's Bolero. So not many people know that Maurice Ravel suffered a significant accident that resulted in a brain injury, and his music changed significantly after this accident. And Bolero, which is one of his most favorite pieces, if you don't know, it's everyone, yes, apparently it's played every 5 minutes across the world. So it's very, very famous, it's very well known. And what people don't know is that it was after he suffered this accident. And one of the reasons why people respond to this piece so strongly is that it does have a repetitive nature. So when you are repeating a certain fragment or theme or motive, what it does is that it starts developing a sense of stability and predictability, and then you start connecting with the music over and over again, and then you're able to basically start regulating your emotions and really entraining the mind to go deeper into meditative states. So I wanted to focus on something that felt like a bit of a memory palace. So as you listen to the piece, there are a few things that I'm working with, mostly just different themes, motives, and then there's like a little bit of a palette cleanser. And also something that's very beautiful, I think, about the piano, of course, I'm partial to the piano, is a sense of overtone series. So whenever you strike a string, there are frequencies. When you leave the pedal open, it starts resonating more frequencies on top. So if you've ever been to a choral concert, you start hearing voices that it's like, oh, is there like a ghost or something? I don't know if you've all experienced that, like in a beautiful cathedral, where the acoustics are really resonant. It's actually just the overtone series working, and it's frequencies that are starting to build on top of one another. So this is my first time with this piano specifically, and we're gonna make friends with one another through this performance, but hopefully if it's successful, you will hear some of those overtone series that I'm playing with, and I'll also be including a bell, which provides a little bit more of that resonant experience, which is supposed to be very calming and relaxing. And I think we're going to probably run this piece for 15 minutes, so prepare yourself for that time. There's going to be some nature, and yeah, I don't know if we're going to transition there, but I also like to do like a little meditation, so I don't know if that's a good point.
And if that's not enough, I think there is some more wine left. So everybody can get into this state of meditation. Thank you, Angelica. And I'd like to take this opportunity to, would you like to add something? Because I'm about to invite Angelica to take the...
Talking about music, but the old times when I was at your age, in Bucharest, the doctors have a philharmonic orchestra.
Yeah, we
Oh,
wanted
right.
we couldn't afford to bring it to New York. It really wasn't. And then we end up only with a conductor and a pianist. And when the conductor left and the pianist left, it's a big ensemble that is still in function. But we thought that Angelica was worth a symphony orchestra. So I'd like to thank you all for sharing with us this wonderful experience. I'm sure everybody is taking home a lot of ideas, has understood more about these approaches, or or has been an invitation to learn more about how art can be so useful to medicine. I'd like to thank you for being here tonight. And it's always so fantastic when we have these evenings surrounded by what we would call the most wonderful public. Thank you, the producer of this event. Of course, this is a part of a larger project, but this event was produced by my colleague, the Deputy Director Luisa Punduc over there, together with our team, the RCI team. Everything is team here at the Romanian Cultural Institute. And now we're going to switch off the lights, and it's time for music.
All right, so I'm going to move over to the piano. So I'd like to ask everyone to get comfortable in your seats. Plant both feet down into the ground. If you want to grab your hands and pull the sticks out a little bit. If you're not comfortable with the concept of meditation, that's totally fine. Just find a place and a position that is most comfortable for you. So as we begin, I'd like to ask everyone to just close your eyes. So the idea here is that we are clearing out the mind and creating a canvas for you to listen to the music in an active way. So when you're listening to music actively, you're activating the prefrontal cortex. You're allowing the part of the brain that has access to empathy, and by sitting with others in music, it's actually an incredible experience for building strong ties and interconnectedness. So if that resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, that's also fine. Just try to find some moment here for you to engage with the music anyway. So opening up the chest, draw the shoulder blades towards one another, just become aware of the body. Constrict the back of the throat, and start breathing deeply through the nose, in and out. As you are breathing, take note of any tension you may be feeling within the body. As you inhale, just gently become aware of how you're feeling this moment. And as you exhale, imagine that you're releasing all tension, deepening your inhalation to match your exhalation. Take a few moments to allow the breath to become stable. You can start engaging what's called ocean breath in yoga. So that is where the breath through the nose becomes slightly audible. And a bonus point challenge, if you're up for it, is to try to maintain this steadiness of breath throughout the entirety of the musical performance.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have another round of applause. At Montefiore.
Monday to Friday, 9 a.m., 5 p.m. through April 8th.
So this is the gateway to that exhibition, just a taste of it, see it, enjoy it, learn from it.